Okay, so while this is not the domino effect video that I said we were going to make, talking about the Penguins and the Blackhawks and how that final game of the season kind of changed everything. Yeah, no, I'm kind of understating it when I say it like that, but believe me, everything was sort of influenced by that one game. Today, what I wanted to do instead was talk about the guy that is really giving Sergei Bobrovsky a run for his money when it comes to that Conn Smythe consideration. There are really two guys on the Florida Panthers right now, the team, by the way, that is in the Stanley Cup Finals, so congrats to you guys. But there are two players on the squad that you could very well make the argument for should get that Conn Smythe, should their heroics continue, and should the Panthers win the Stanley Cup. After sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday, you have yourselves a whole bunch of discourse going about the guy that got the job done. Let's talk today about 2016 star forward and former Calgary Flame, Matthew Tkachuk. The reason we're making this video is because Tkachuk is proving everybody wrong. Me, you, the analysts, the people on TV, the people on social media, all of us are being proven wrong here. Unless you went out there and said that Matthew Tkachuk getting sent over to the Florida Panthers last year in a trade which included Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar would have ended up in the Panthers making the gosh darn Stanley Cup Finals and Tkachuk looking like the hero in the process. You see, a year ago when the trade was made, everybody was saying sort of the same thing. Wait a minute, wow, Florida is giving up a whole bunch of really good assets to get one good asset in return? Yes, Matthew Tkachuk is a very good player. He had 104 points last year as a member of the Calgary Flames. But Jonathan Huberdeau had more points. You have Mackenzie Weegar, who is a very strong defenseman. You have the picks, Cole Schwindt in there. And honestly, I mean, from my perspective, at least, when I made the video standing outside the sushi restaurant getting ready to go to drop-in volleyball with my friends, vlogging it, trying to be quiet because we were outside the Church's Chicken drive-thru, I was saying, yeah, this is a win for Calgary. You get out of the negotiation process with Tkachuk. You already have a guy in Huberdeau who is signed long-term. You have extra cap space because Gaudreau was gone, and they use that to sign Kadri. And this team, on paper, looks like it's better than it was before. And they made the second round last year. They lost to McDavid and the Oilers. It was a very fun Battle of Alberta series, but the Calgary Flames are on the way up. As for the Panthers, they're a President's Trophy winning team that got humiliated in the playoffs. They lost out on Huberdeau, their top scorer, and Weegar, a strong defenseman, and they're getting one guy in Matthew Tkachuk back, whom they're going to have to re-sign. And they did. They gave him the big contract. It was actually a sign-and-trade type of ordeal with the Calgary Flames, 8 years long, $9.5 million a season. But for Matthew Tkachuk, he went out there and showed off to the entire hockey world that, yeah, all your assessments about how the Flames absolutely won this deal, I'm not going to listen to those. Matthew Tkachuk this season had 109 points in 79 games played, so he actually improved his point production comparative to last year, and he wasn't playing with Johnny Gaudreau. Sure, the Panthers have their own cast of very strong and deep goal scorers, but it's just very good to see that Matthew Tkachuk was able to take that production and bring it over with a very seamless sort of transition. Now in the postseason, the guy has gone out there with 21 points in 16 games played, and that number is very good in and of itself. Hey, he's over a point per game, he's got 9 goals and 12 assists, he is just such a productive player, but just the numbers by themselves don't really encapsulate the clutchness. Just how important it is that Matthew Tkachuk is scoring the points and making all the things happen that he is. Let's go over onto the game log and look at how Matthew Tkachuk pretty much had the Hurricanes' number, and it wasn't even funny. Matthew Tkachuk game by game. Let's go ahead and Google that because I did not have that open when I started recording this video. That's my mistake. So Matthew Tkachuk in game 1 against the Hurricanes, guess what? He gets the overtime winner in quadruple overtime. 3-2. It's his only point of the game, but it's the one that sends everybody home. In game 2, he gets another goal. Also an overtime winner. And this one happened to have, a very short amount of time instead of the other one. The other one was quadruple overtime. The second game was a minute in. So there you go. Matthew Tkachuk saying, let's go home times 2. Game 3, a 1-0 win for the Panthers, and Matthew Tkachuk has an assist. And Game 4, you have Matthew Tkachuk with 2 goals, and of course, the most important one being the goal at the very end of the game with 4 seconds to go, where the Panthers, they just give it to Tkachuk, and the Hurricanes allow Tkachuk to walk right in front, uncontested. It's in the back of the net. It's 2 goals for Tkachuk in Game 4, and, the total point production, 5 points, 4 games played in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's the 3rd straight Hurricanes sweep in the 3rd round in a row. They haven't won a single playoff game in the 3rd round since, 2006? Something like that? Now, that's not really that bad of a feat when you acknowledge Toronto's long streak of not even getting past the 1st round, but still, Florida is on top of the world right now, and we talked about how Sergei Bobrovsky is making all these saves. He is a god amongst men. Matthew Tkachuk is doing similar things from the forward perspective. He is just all over the score sheet, all over the ice, doing what it is that he gets paid to do, and doing so at such a high magnitude that anybody going out there and saying that this trade of Huberdeau, Weegar, and Tkachuk was a loss for Florida, I don't know about that now anymore, man. And I'm going to be guilty of that too. I very much said this was a Calgary Flames win back when the trade happened. I guess hindsight is 2020, and you could say, if the Chicago Blackhawks just lost that game against Pittsburgh, this wouldn't have been happening. Or, if the Calgary Flames just were not coached terribly and they made the playoffs instead and they went on a run, this wouldn't be happening. And yeah, of course, that's definitely the case here. It's just taking a look at the alternatives and acknowledging how they would have had different outcomes does not mean you can discredit what's happened in this timeline. Sure, the Florida Panthers did not have the best regular season, but at least Matthew Tkachuk was still productive. That's part of the conversation here. They squeaked into the playoffs. They beat Boston. They stomped Toronto. They stomped Carolina, on paper at least. You could say, based off of watching the series, that was not a 4-0 caliber series. That was really close, really tight. All the games were 1-goal games, and the Hurricanes just ended up on the short end of the stick every single time. But while that's going on, it's Matthew Tkachuk who is really being the straw that stirs the drink. He is doing everything in his power to will this Panthers team to making it as far as they have been. Matthew Tkachuk, ladies and gentlemen, proving me wrong. Is he proving you wrong? If you're a Florida Panthers fan, what are your thoughts on this trade from 1 year ago, 1 year after it happened? Are you feeling the same way? Did you feel that this was an inevitable possibility? Did you think that he would be able to have this type of an impact on your team? And do you think this sort of thing could have been accomplished by a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau or Mackenzie Weegar? These guys were very talented players that I thought were going to really bolster that Calgary Flames lineup. It's just, they didn't. Jonathan Huberdeau had such a big drop-off in points. Matthew Tkachuk stayed the same. So you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this. And bye.